So hi, welcome everyone. This is the first time we're doing this. My name's Joe. Recording a podcast with my brother Dan. We've never done this
Hey,
before. Say hi, Dan. Yeah.
hey, what's up?
Hey. So we haven't planned this. This is our first time, and we have got a rough format that we're going to follow, and that's going to be a section on health and fitness, a section on business and finance, and a section on either stuff from the news or anything random.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
thinking it might be about 30 minutes, but we'll have to wait and see. We've never,
yeah,
like I said, never done this before, so this could overrun by 2 hours, and we could be done in about 35 seconds.
yeah. Easily could be. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But oh well, like you said, let's start off with health and fitness. So you went for a run literally just now. How'd that go? How far did you
Um,
go?
so yeah, I did a 10K. I'm not a very
Nice.
experienced. Yeah, I was pleased with it. Not a really experienced runner, but I've been getting into it since the pandemic because the gyms are closed. So yeah, I went for a 10K. We're recording this on a Saturday morning, so yeah, I went for a 10K this morning. Yeah, it was
Mm.
fun. It was nice. The weather's amazing. It's like just changed from being really cold and icy and wet underfoot to
Yeah.
drier.
Uh-huh.
So a
So
lot of the
all
routes.
on path, right? All on pavement.
No,
All
no.
right.
No. That's what I'm saying. This is like the first time since November that I've been able to run on like a track, not like a running track, like a muddy, like what was a muddy track.
Oh, okay. Oh, all of it was done on there then this time.
About half of it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was able to actually do the nice routes again, as opposed to like running on the side of the road by cars and
Yeah.
stuff. So actually, it was nice for that, and it like not a cloud in the sky.
Mm.
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah,
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
and you?
Uh,
You planning to
yeah,
go running this weekend?
yeah. I'm thinking of running tomorrow. Weather's getting a lot better, as you can see. I'm just looking out the window. It's pretty nice. Um, I've noticed, like, even though it's probably a degree warmer or 2 degrees warmer, it's made such a difference. All of a sudden, yeah, gloves are off, hats off, and even wearing the sort of bib in the evening when I do evening runs, like things like that, because obviously it's not breathable, the one I have. So it's just suddenly become quite a bit more, a little uncomfortable, just because I'm not used to suddenly running in the sun. But no, it's nice. I shouldn't complain. It's way nicer to run in this, and obviously you can run in at a later time. Yeah, no, I've been running with mum, as you know, so we've noticed a lot more sort of, I want to say, like, obstacles, because there's just more people generally walking around, which
Yeah,
is which is cool. But you suddenly you find that you're not as free. It kind of knocks your concentration a little bit. Well, I think it knocked hers a tiny bit, just suddenly seeing so many people on the weekend, being out and about because the weather's just better. But yeah, the aim for me is to try and get a better time for the 10K. As I've told you before, I've only done four of them. I've only completed four of them. So as long as my
how
knee
many? How
holds
many?
out,
Four.
I think, yeah, I've done four. One this year, three last year, starting last year.
Right.
So yeah. Um, we'll see how that goes.
I think for reference, anyone who hasn't guessed by our accents, we're based in the UK, so if we talk about the weather quite a bit, yeah, that's probably why.
Mm-hmm.
But it does like vary wildly. So as Dan was saying, like 2 weeks ago, I was fully wrapped up, thermals, long sleeves, a hat, gloves. I couldn't run without that. But now it was just back to summer. It was just like within 2 weeks straight away back to like sort of summer dress, which is quite nice. But one of the
Yeah.
nice things since the lockdown, because we don't live together, we live in different parts of the country. But the nice thing is that Dan's been able to help. Well, you've been able to help Mum get into running. She's like never run before, and she did her couch to. Was it the couch to 5K program?
Yeah, and it's the strangest thing, because it's obviously great, being able to help her, someone that admittedly never ran before,
Mm-hmm.
but what's obviously quite eye opening about doing that is that it I'm not, I'm not an avid runner, I'm not a keen runner, as you know, but I just wanted to get back into it. And I thought to myself, if I'm trying to motivate someone that's never run before, then I've got to be up to scratch. So it's kind of just made me, suddenly take more responsibility and get better at doing it, because I'm teaching someone. So how can I encourage someone if I'm rubbish or have no confidence in myself? So all of a sudden I'm giving these, I'm handing out these sort of running techniques that I've never really said out loud before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they make sense. And then I've gone and kind of probably YouTube these things after, just to make sure.
You haven't told her like the wrong thing.
Yeah. Sort of arm movement, breathing, and sort of pacing that you might use. So it's kind of strange, but this is a good thing. It sort of pushes you, I think, to just learn about it more. And especially if there's a little bit of pressure on you as suddenly a teacher or whatnot. So yeah, it's been good. It's been nothing but good, because it's got her fitness up, and kind of indirectly it got my fitness up by making me think, oh, I better do a bit more.
I'm really surprised and impressed with you and mum particularly, but just for getting into it, because like she's never done it. But I think all three of us have gotten into running since lockdown, just because it's like one of the only things you can do in terms of like going for exercise. So, and I wonder there must be thousands of people who are doing what we're doing, like just getting into running for the first time, like seriously, actually enjoying it and going regularly. Which is strange, really.
Yeah, and my theory, I may have said this to you before, was that if I'm teaching someone to do 5K, and I can only just do 5K, which was kind of the truth, I've got to get myself to do 7 or 10, and that's ultimately what led me to do 10. And I just don't think that would have happened without this happening. So yeah, that kind of helped, I guess. Well, I think you're right, and I think that lockdown has brought that out in people. But I kind of jokingly said to another friend that people who might be sort of abusing steroids or something like that might look a lot different at the moment, because gyms have been closed. And who's got a bench at home, and how many people have like Olympic benches and deadlifts and the weights and plates and stuff?
Yeah, totally. So I used to do very little cardio, mostly do resistance training, weights, free weights in the gym, maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah,
and have done for years. Not that I was particularly very, very strong, but I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I just haven't been to the gym since January 2020, and it's now what, nearly March, like two days away from March.
Yeah.
So and I don't actually think I've lost too much size. Maybe I didn't take a before photo. I couldn't bring myself to take a before photo. But yeah, you're right. There'll be loads of people who are like massively into lifting, like loads of serious lifters who won't have access. I'm hoping there's some, like the really keen people, like the professionals, they will, because they'll have their own setup. Surely they'll have their own squat rack at home, or they'll have one by now. Do you know what I mean? Like the really diehard people. But there'll be a lot of people who relied on gym access.
Yeah, and I guess for anyone who's listening and is keen about that sort of self gym, home gym, free weights, would know also how difficult it's been to get hold of some of that equipment, because it's been, I mean, that's just been
flying off the shelves.
Like plates and dumbbells and things like that. Talking to friends about trying to get hold of kettlebells, and how I think it's kind of strange how Facebook Marketplace actually seems to have a bit of better foothold now than eBay. I don't know if you've heard about that, but that's what I hear from friends anyway. That's the go-to place for this sort of second-hand market. Yeah, I think so. But they were just saying how they're selling and then other friends buying certain equipment, and how the price is just crazy. But so I've just said friends selling and friends buying. I probably should have just got those two together so they could have had a better trade. But it
was probably your lazy mates selling really light, shitty weights, and your fit mates trying to buy like decent expensive weights, so it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Yeah, true. Um, so yeah, I think yeah, well, lockdowns brought that out in everyone. I think running has just become such a sort of key thing over COVID, and it's kind of
Yeah.
cool in a way because it's kind of sad that it had to be something like COVID for people to find out routes and amazing paths, secret paths that they didn't know existed in their hometown. But when you kind of told to stay in your hometown over a year and not leave, I guess that is bound to happen.
Do you run with your mobile phone?
Sorry.
Do you run with your phone? Do you carry your phone when you
Oh
run?
yeah, I do. Yeah. I actually
Have you
in
got
my
Strava?
hand as well. So
Well, yeah, that's a pain in the ass. But I
yeah.
mean, I can give you some advice on that. But do you have Strava, the app Strava?
I don't, but since Mum was new to this, I did tell her, I encouraged her to download Java. I only didn't do it because I've already got I think it's i6, and I have like 2 years. Although have said I'm new to running, I did dabble when I
Mhm.
was living in China
Yeah,
with running, and I've got a fair amount of records that I like to kind of compare.
yeah. You should well, I recommend Strava because it's like a lot of people are on it, and also you can like see what your mates have done, and it kind of motivates you to do stuff as well. Like
Sure.
you can see you can see my entire run and see like where I was slow, where I was faster. If I took any
Yeah.
breaks, it's like completely uh it's all out there to see. And
Oh, I
you
see. Right. Okay.
I think you can also see my heart rate as well. So I've got one of those fancy watches that monitors heart rate, and that uploads to
Okay.
it too. So you can literally see the bits where I was struggling because my heart rate will go through the roof and it was up a hill.
Oh, right.
Or you can see
Wow.
if I've taken the like pedal off a bit, taken my foot off the pedal. Sorry. Um,
Oh,
I
that's
mean, it's
good.
really good for that. Yeah, it's really good for that. And obviously you can see the entire route, so it maps the route for you and shows you the route.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Oh no, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Well,
I
hey,
definitely
if
recommend it.
yeah, sure, and we'll both get on board and recommend if Strava approaches for any sort of advertising anytime soon, then sure, I'll delete that i6. I'll be straight off my phone.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure two amateur runners are the top of their
yeah.
list.
But it's funny because I was talking to my friend Nick, who you know as well. He keeps telling me to download the Nike running app, and
Oh yeah,
he
I've
never
got a
really
friend who
got
got that.
around to it. Well, he never got around to telling me why. And his sort of go to, I think, or the his selling point was that it got these cool backgrounds and that you can take photos while you're on your run, and it kind of uploads automatically and syncs to Facebook. It was something on those lines, but it sounded like it didn't sound like the main part of the app. And I just thought,
No,
right, well,
it's
yeah, I'm not.
I've got a friend who's also got the Nike app, and I don't know enough about it. I just know that everyone who's serious about like running or cycling and any fitness, they're all on Strava. Like Strava's it's like I don't know, it's a little bit like being I'm not sure, like an Android user when most people are on iPhone.
Yeah.
Although that's probably gonna people will hate that because there'll be loads of Android users out there who think exactly the same about. But maybe that's a bad example. So it's like um, it's almost like VHS versus Betamax, that type of just a different thing that not enough people are on. And yeah, that was
Okay.
my impression of Nike. I haven't tried it, but I know one person
Okay.
on it. I know one person on it, and that's it. Everyone else I know is on Strava.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. Um, I like these apps. I think they're all pretty decent. But the only problem I've had, and this is this is I'm not just taking this opportunity to blame the lack of a certain Christmas present I thought I was due, but um, I found that wearing gloves in the winter, I'm kind of holding the screen, and I can't. Sometimes I want to put it in my pocket, so I lock it right, and then as I'm running with Mum, it comes up quite often that I want to kind of track the distance and or the time that's passed,
Yeah,
and suddenly you can't open the phone, you got to rip a glove off. And I found, and as stupid as this sounds, but I found using my chin kind of opens
What?
the iPhone. But using my chin, I literally it wants skin. Your phone wants skin. That's all it wants.
So what? Unlock the screen. You use your chin while you're running.
That's right, because I still haven't bothered to have the eye scan or the face scan onto my iPhone. So
Why don't you just
it
do the face
requires.
scan? Your phone does the face scan, right? You got the one that does that.
It does, and I've been so yeah, I know, I've been so lazy about this.
So what? Are you typing in
Um,
your PIN number with your chin?
no, you can. I just swipe up. You have to type. You have to tap the screen, then swipe up to unlock it. So no
Ah,
pin. No,
yeah.
there's no pin required at all.
No.
But it takes basically the touch from your skin to
I know
activate.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
that.
Okay, okay,
But
yeah, sure.
in the nicest possible way, that's the most backwards way of doing it. So your phone doesn't have a pin. So instead of using your Face ID when you're running, you're using your chin to unlock your phone. It's like the
Yeah,
opposite. It's the complete opposite
yeah.
what you should do. Well, okay. I mean, it's good to know.
I'm exposed to everything. If someone stole my phone, there's no pin, and also when I'm running, I'm using my face to unlock it. It's kind of in a different way. I'm using my face to unlock it. It's very strange, but basically,
Literally using your face to unlock it. You've
yeah.
misunderstood. Did you see Face ID and you misunderstood it and you thought, oh, what? They want my chin?
What I was alluding to was that I think I was one of the Christmas presents or a present. I kind of asked my mum.
You asked me. I think you asked me or Mum. Yeah.
Oh, it was okay.
I know exactly
So
what you're alluding to. You're alluding to the gloves. I got you.
exactly,
I did get.
yeah,
Oh, no.
that would have solved this whole sort of conundrum that I'm having. But yeah,
They turned
without
up and
that,
they were broken, right? Like when you open them on Christmas Day, they had to split them.
yeah, I think it turns out that my hands are not medium or something like that. I
What? So
think that
you ripped them?
no, sorry, the tear was already there, but
Oh,
it
right. Okay. Yeah.
expanded, but it expanded,
Right. Okay.
kind of expanded. But yeah, it's
Uh,
pretty crazy. Yeah. So
so,
sorry, any more on
oh
the?
yeah, yeah. So a couple of things I was going to say about having your phone with you when you run. Firstly, like I said earlier on, I've got one of these. I've got a Garmin watch, which they're not like cheap. They're a couple £100, but it's amazing for tracking running. So like, you can do all your distance, speed, time, heart rate, all of that stuff, GPS, everything. You can
Yep.
also play music from it. So if you've got wireless Bluetooth headphones, you can just listen to music without carrying your phone if you're going for a shorter run. But if you're going for a longer run, um, I actually bought something called a naked band, NAKED. Um,
Okay.
this is our first ever recording of a conversation podcast, so nothing is sponsored. So just take this
Yeah.
everything with a pinch of salt, but it's genuine. So I've Claire got me that for Christmas, and my partner, and it's like an elasticated waistband, but it's like nothing. So you can put your phone in it, but nothing moves around. It's actually incredible. So kind of my keys, I could put my gloves in there. I could put a shopping bag. Could put a mask if I wanted to go into a shop afterwards. I could
Wait a
put my
minute.
phone.
Wait.
Huh?
I have to stop you. So a
Yeah.
utility belt and a mask and running at night. Are you fighting crime at night as well?
No, I didn't have like what does Batman carry with him? Like nunchucks or
Who's
throwing
this Bruce
stars or anything.
Wayne going around running at?
No, it's definitely not that. No, you look quite middle aged actually with it on, but it's amazing for having your phone because I used to have my phone in my pockets of my shorts, and they would just bounce around all
Okay.
over the place,
Okay.
or just be in the way a bit. I found it annoying, or I have to carry it in my hand. But
Yeah.
actually putting it, so I put it at the base of my back on this band, and it doesn't move, it doesn't bounce. It's way better way of carrying stuff. And I think if you're going for a longer run, you could put like gel packs in there, and even if you had like a soft I don't know how to describe it, like a soft plastic water bottle, you could put that in there as well. It's got loads of capacity. Um,
Okay.
so, but the other thing as well I was going to say is that I would only run with my watch alone, because you can look at it and see your pace and see your distance and stuff like without having hands. The only thing is my watch doesn't phone, so if I fell over, which I did in September,
Yeah.
if I didn't have my phone with me, I wouldn't be able to call for help to say, come pick me up, I've fallen over, I've taken a bad fall.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, that's yeah, that's fair enough. I'm with you on that. I used to try and run without taking my phone because I thought, oh, I know the distance, and when I get back, I know exactly what the time's gone by. But yeah, overall, I do think it's better to run with the phone too.
Yeah, yeah,
Most
yeah.
people want to. It's yeah, like you said, it's security and to track what you sort of covered. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and you want to talk about some of the sort of business things that we've read and sort of come across
Yeah, let's move on to the
recently.
business section. So you
Sure.
said you've been looking up, is it graphene batteries? I must admit, I don't know much about this. So yeah, tell me.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks like you're wearing a graphene top today. It's like a grey top.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it does, right? Yeah, it's interesting, and I was thinking this is it's not too much to do with it, but what I thought was so strange is that one of the first videos that our dad ever forwarded me of YouTube happened to be about graphene batteries. It was about 2 years ago, um, and I didn't pay enough attention to it at the time, and I didn't come circle back to it. But it's coming up more and more. For those who haven't heard about it, it's I believe that it's from graphite. Um, this technology is basically they're trying to develop something that's just hold a lot more charge than the lithium ion battery
So
cells.
mobile phones and laptops and most electronic devices, they're all lithium these days, right? Including
Yeah,
electric cars, lithium as well, I take it.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and I watched a program recently. It was about the sort of six inventions that sort of changed the world, especially in the sort of modern era, the last 100 years. And it was about cars specifically. And they were talking about if this graphene battery does sort of come into play, how it's so thin that it can kind of attach itself to carbon material, that the
Hmm.
battery would actually be the shell of the car. It would be the sort of the chassis of the car itself. So it saves a lot of weight. But they were even saying that this could apply to houses in the future. Um, that they again could sort of
So make your
attach.
house out of graphene.
Yeah, as weird as it sounds, but they think that they could sort of fuse this graphene to the material that the house is. I guess it's insulation and the material that's used to build it, so that I think they was trying to get at the fact that it's a lot more conductive, and that
So,
yeah, sorry.
well, I was just going to say, from a complete layman's perspective, so I don't know that much about batteries, but what's the like? If someone was going to sell me a graphene battery or a mobile phone would I want my mobile phone to be run on a graphene battery, or like what would be the benefits? Does it like last longer? Is it lighter? Like, what do you know? What's the underlying like benefit of graphene versus lithium ion? I imagine it's more expensive to produce at the moment.
Yeah,
Would be my guess
yeah, absolutely.
because it's new. Because it's new.
Yeah, that's the main fault. That's the
Hmm.
main problem for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's everything. It's pretty much everything you just mentioned. It's obviously it's worth its cost, but it basically is just a lot more sort of conductive, I think. But it's got it does more cycles, I think, than lithium. It's a lot
More
lighter.
cycles meaning you can charge it and recharge it more times
Yeah,
without it dying. Okay, or
yeah.
becoming like yeah. Okay.
Um, and yeah, if they can apply this properly, then it becomes a lot lighter. Um, there's also it's also supposed to be very good for the environment, but I'll have to get into that next time. I'm not exactly sure as to why, um, because
Well,
I'm not.
I guess if it's got more cycles, then you throw it away later for a start.
Yeah, I think possibly it's not a rare earth metal, so
Right.
it's
Okay.
not
Yeah.
or it's not coming from that. So that's another reason. So sort of like mining it or whatever is not really hurting the planet as quite as much. But yeah, so that was my take. And obviously, in the battery business a little bit, mainly with nickel cadmium, uh, nickel metal hydride, and lithium. But yeah,
So,
that's it's just something that's interesting. It seems like that would be the future possibly. I won't be surprised if sort of Tesla in a few years' time or sort of announcing their testing, but it's very much R&D still, I think, at the moment. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So what's like the main use case then for graphene? Like, where could you see it being? Like, so if it's a weight saving, then cars does sound like cars would be good.
yeah. Well, they basically they think that if they can get this off the ground, this graphene battery, that the time to charge the car would be the same time as fueling it with gasoline as that takes right now, which is what from empty to full 5 minutes, for example.
Yeah.
Whereas currently the lithium ion batteries for cars take hours, I think.
Yeah. I like your currently joke, by the way.
Sorry.
Your joke. Well, you didn't mean it as a joke, but you said currently. Batteries
Oh
current.
right, yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Go on, meant it. Yeah.
Really
Yes.
clever. Yeah, I was wondering with like, there's the problem with like not slow charging batteries, but because I watched a video recently about like infrastructure around electric cars and how fast charging stations are really expensive, but they exist, and you can like 50% charge a car in about 30 minutes, and
Yeah.
then you could do that a few times, and that's about as quick a way to get to a place rather than stop at a service station and let it fully charge. That takes a long time, but you can fast charge it to 50-60% and then actually do journeys that way instead. That's a potential way forward. But to get these fast charging stations in, they're not like the regular Tesla charging stations. You have to like invest in infrastructure to do that.
Yeah.
But the one thing I kind of wondered was like, why own the battery? Why not have a Tesla charging station where you just swap it out with a battery that's charged, and then to like have the battery on some like detachable tray, and then just
Yeah.
physically remove the battery, plug in a new battery, and that's your entire charge done. And, you don't own the battery that you've got. You might never see that battery again. But that
Yeah.
battery you've just removed then sits there on a trickle charge, waiting for another person to come along, and then just swap the batteries out. Like, I've always thought to myself, like, there's an opportunity to do that because it's a battery, right? Why not do it that way?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good idea. I think I've heard a friend Gareth kind of apply that, and I guess a few cyclists apply that to their e-bikes.
Yeah, yeah, makes perfect
It
sense.
kind of benefits them to have 2 or 3 packs. As expensive as they are, those battery packs. It's apparently, if you fit it yourself, it's actually not that difficult to carry that extra pack with you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What's he use it for? Is that for deliveries and stuff,
Um,
or?
Yeah, Deliveroo, and so
Right.
it is for work for him, but it just guarantees that he's got that extra fuel, I guess, to get him around. So yeah, I think it's the future. I can imagine that we'll be talking about graphene a fair bit more. Should
Well,
be,
I
I
mean,
imagine.
yeah, I mean, if graphene does kick off, and you can make, I wonder if the charging mechanisms that currently exist for like lithium-ion cars, like Tesla cars, I wonder if that would work in a graphene battery. I don't know.
Mm.
Probably it's just charge, right? I can't imagine there's different flavors of electricity. There's probably a way to do it. But if that is the
Yeah,
case and you can charge them really quickly, then yeah, like what? Yeah, well, you wouldn't need to like remove the battery. My idea of a removable car battery becomes um like neat.
yeah, that's right. Okay, so I guess our next segment's to kind of go over current news and what's in the news at the moment. What's sort of headlines that have come up. Um,
Yes, so it's, as you said earlier on, it's the end of Feb 2021. Uh, and Dan, you'd mentioned the Australia Facebook thing, something about Australian Facebook. So I've had my head in the sand this last couple of weeks. So yeah, what's been happening?
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, by the way, our call's going to end, so we might have to tie these bits together and do a new one. Okay, but cool. So yeah, Facebook in Australia. For as far as I know, about a few weeks ago, Australia mentioned that they were going to pass a law that they would basically make it, I think, compulsory to charge Facebook for using their journalists and Australian news.
So they're going to charge Facebook for using news.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. I think it was to protect the Australian journalists. Basically, I think that a few news groups sort of kind of got together and pressured the government to pass this law. Is what it appears to be.
Okay.
So there was this kind of spat between Facebook and Australia. Facebook kind of their response was that they feel like I think it was something on the lines of it seems as though they said something like it seems the Australian government and Australian media doesn't quite understand that the relationship between Facebook and themselves. So we're being pushed to no longer issue any of the Australian news coverage on our website because they didn't agree with the charges that the government were trying to enforce. So they had to make a decision. Facebook either accept the certain amount of charges that were being imposed, or to sever ties, and that's what they did, the latter. So all of a sudden, you can't. I think basically you can't see Australian news. I'm trying to think of it. Channel 9, I think, is one of their big ones. But anything sort of Australian related has suddenly been taken off Facebook. And obviously, Facebook's such a big sort of juggernaut these days, and with I guess younger adults and then kids also getting some of their news from it since they spend so much time on it. But I just wonder what you think about that.
Well, I wonder if that's the right demographic for Facebook nowadays. Like, I haven't used Facebook in, I don't know, a couple, 2-3 years, and I'm early 30s. I don't know many people that do use Facebook. I'm thinking it's kind of like the slightly older people that use it more. Like, it's your sort of late 30s plus, maybe into your 40s, 50s, and even 60s. They might be on Facebook a bit more to keep up or communicate with people. And so. So anyway, that's not relevant to what we're talking about, but it's interesting because I don't know. The problem I think with a lot of social media is that unreliable news sources, like, you don't know if what you're seeing is true. So if you definitely take away like a quote unquote official media source from Facebook, you're only going to be left with very unofficial media sources. So the only stuff you can see on Facebook now, news-wise in Australia, I'm guessing, this is a complete guess, is unofficial stuff. Now, I'm not saying official media doesn't have its problems, it does.
Yeah, right.
But with no representation there, is that good for them? I don't know. I mean, I guess it wasn't good for them before, the news channel, sorry. I guess it wasn't good for the news channels before, otherwise they wouldn't have decided to say, pay us, or, or you're breaking the law. So clearly they weren't happy with the business relationship between themselves and Facebook, but I don't know if, what do you think? Is that, am I even on the right lines of the story, or have I missed the mark?
Yeah. I think so. As far as, I mean, we're a bit far from it. I feel like the BBC haven't covered this as much as they should have, because it is quite a big deal. I think Canada tried to follow suit. I think they're making a similar approach. What's confusing, I guess, for us is that this hasn't happened to the UK and the UK media, but I think that's just because they've already struck a deal and they've agreed with the terms with Facebook. I think Google kind of got dragged into this too. I think because they appeared to make. I think Google's fine with everybody, but they've appeared to make a deal with the Australian government and their news media. Whereas the only people that haven't have been Facebook with them. So it just seems as though, to be honest, my opinion is that the news companies have kind of been piggybacking on Facebook anyway. I don't have a big issue with this. we've also, I think, as a society, kind of allowed Facebook to get this big. I don't know who's really responsible, but it's not great that people are only using Facebook, or some people are, for
It's
news
terrible.
coverage. But
It's really
yeah,
bad. Yeah.
yeah,
But I guess that's the way of the world. Like people get. I use Twitter. That's my news source. Genuinely, I get more news from Twitter than I do from any like actual mainstream media platform. Not because
yeah.
I'm massively anti-mainstream media. I'm not. But I tend to get a lot of stuff from just from Twitter, which is unfiltered.
Sure. And as this goes on, as these podcasts sort of progress, you guys will probably find a recurring theme of me not liking me as well, kind of not liking the mainstream media, and particularly the British media and
Yeah,
TV.
Dan really doesn't like the BBC. You don't like BBC News, do you?
Yeah, it's what's on TV. It stands out the most. The tone that's kind of set on the BBC and Channel 4 News. But I guess if it's put on TV every night and it's in your face, it obviously gets a bit much. But there's just less tone to having the BBC app, for instance, in comparison to watching BBC News at 10. The difference is huge, and it's quite strange
In what
how.
way? Is so BBC News at 10 is really bad, or the app's
Yeah,
bad?
I mean,
Which one's worse? Which one isn't? Well, what's the difference to you?
well, for me, it's basically BBC app is just informative and quite direct and informative. And when they quote people, it's what you see. It's speech marks and then it's a quote. But quite literally, when you watch BBC News at 10, when they quote someone, I think it's Laura Koonsberg. This could be Channel 4. Sorry,
She's
but
BBC.
okay.
Ginsburg's BBC. Yeah.
But again, Channel 4 guilty of doing this too, where when they quote someone, they've just got a very specific tone and at when they're quoting them,
Right. They'll emphasize it in a way that you mean they'll emphasize the quote in a way that
yeah,
tells
yeah.
their narrative.
Yeah, they're just trying. They've got a sort of 30 minutes or 1 hour to generate their type of spin and their type of I think almost comedy of how they think the person in power is. I don't have a preference particularly of conservative or Labour, but they just whoever's in charge is basically getting kind of prodded
Yeah.
all of the time, and then there'll be a joke attached to their social life or even to their appearance, and this doesn't happen on the app. The app is just the app. The app is the story. You read it, you switch it on, you switch it off. There's no
Yeah.
voice that's prodding away and looking over at you and looking back at the government and kind of trying to generate.
Yeah. You don't get the app like looking at the camera and raising their eyebrows.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's kind of it.
I suppose I've got one counterpoint to that. So I don't watch BBC News, Channel 4 News, ever really. I'm to be honest, news at 10. I'm like normally in bed before that. But yeah, the one thing I will say about the app that I find annoying, and this is why I deleted it for ages, the BBC News app, is it'll say for example, it's talking about like Boris Johnson. We can get into politics another time, but let's just be neutral on the topic. But let's just say that the quote is like Boris Johnson is confident of a lockdown easing measures or something like that. They'll often put confident in commas, like inverted commas. So it reads
Right.
as if they're saying Boris Johnson is confident of easing lockdown measures, or I don't know, lowering tax or higher tax, like whatever it is, I don't care. But the app does,
Yeah.
the headline of the app always has this like quotation marks or quote marks on certain words that makes you think, why are you emphasizing that? Like you're adding your own bias into that. He's
Yeah.
made a statement. He hasn't sat there and he hasn't said I'm confident and then done bunny ears as he's saying it. He's just said it out how it is. Like I don't like that and it's in loads of stories I find on the BBC app. Like loads of the headlines will have some random like quote marks or I'm not sure what they called. Am I using the right word? But quote marks, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. In that sense, yeah, that's definitely then a flaw of the app. Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that too.
It's don't get me wrong, it's better than what you're describing in the actual news of them being like literally raising their eyebrows or using the tone of voice to quote someone and misrepresent what they've said.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do find the little like BBC app quote marks to be pretty frustrating because
Mm.
I don't know,
Yeah, I
you
know.
just see their agenda. Whether or not I agree with it, I don't care if I agree with it or not. I just don't want them to have an opinion almost. I kind of like if they weren't opinionated.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. They kind of leave it open to interpretation, and they
Mm.
shouldn't. Sometimes that's how I feel about that as well. I've always felt that about Jeremy Vine. I used to quite enjoy listening to Jeremy Vine,
On Radio
and then
2.
and then I just found that
Just for people listening, Dan is on. Oh no, you're over 30 now actually, but
yeah,
you're younger than me, and I'm like early 30s. So Dan isn't a 50-year-old man, but he does enjoy Jeremy Vine.
yeah. I used to,
Wearing
but
his graphene-coloured fleece.
people will not see, so it's all good.
Complaining about Facebook. You might be 50 actually.
Yeah, yeah, it's well, that's the thing. I guess I gotta also introduce myself as to living abroad for quite a few years, quite quite a
Yeah.
long time, and that kept me out of the loop. And what was good about that was I then relied on BBC News app. You couldn't just turn on TV, obviously being outside of Europe. So I relied on that and used that a lot more, and it just felt a lot sort of less annoying than having the TV and actually hearing it. But
Well, what annoyed you about Jeremy Vine then? So sorry, I interrupted you by calling you an old man for listening to Radio 2, which is true. But
I used to think that he had really, to be honest, it's the content. I thought he had really interesting conversations. It seems to me is that he's on there more frequently. I could probably do my research. I'm not sure if he's on there daily, but it seems like he's on there daily, and it's just the amount of things he's covering, and it's not just because he's covering COVID, and we are during this pandemic that he has to
he's
cover
talking
that.
about
It's even before that.
talking about his radio show.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he
it's
he has
radio.
a daily slot. I think he has a daily afternoon slot. He has done for years.
Yeah, it just seems I don't know. He seemed to it seemed to me actually that he's become slightly less opinionated. He seemed to kind of debunk things a little bit like is it LBC James something? I could definitely do better.
James Ferrari?
I think so. Who
No, it's Nick Ferrari. James
of
O'Brien. James O'Brien. I'm mixing two
it.
LBC presenters. So it's James O'Brien and Nick Ferrari.
Yeah, it's James O'Brien, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
who
good.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. I think he's kind of taken Jeremy Vine's place in the sense that he kind of debunks things that ideas that are a bit ludicrous, and he doesn't kind of pander to anything. Whereas I think Jeremy Vine is doing that now. I think he doesn't debunk these sort of crazy notions in the chat that he's having because he's so happy for a crazy conversation to be going on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know if does he think that's sort of rewarding to people, or does he think that that's like honourable that he can hold the craziest conversation on the radio and it's open to everyone, therefore it's I don't know, inclusive. But I just think it's kind of just battling on about sort of nothing.
Yeah, I do wonder how trivial a lot of the conversations that he's brought onto the show compared to how it used to be. I think for reference, for people who, well, most people, no one will know this, but Dan used to live until last year, you lived in China. So that's why,
Yeah.
well, and actually that's maybe, well, definitely can't get onto that during this chat, but talking about the difference in news availability between China and here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be very
absolutely.
interesting to get your opinion on that. It's like massively different, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
What do you prefer, Jeremy Vine or Chinese news?
Oh,
If
Chinese
you had to pick
news.
one, you got to pick one. You got to pick one. You got to listen to Jeremy Vine every day for the rest of your life, or Chinese news
Oh,
only.
Chinese news. Well, here's the thing. And this sounds really rude, but I would learn more from listening to Chinese news in the sense that I would
Are
learn
you
more.
serious?
I would,
You
I would
serious?
learn more. Wait. You didn't let me finish. I would learn more Chinese,
Right.
which
Okay.
I'm still in the process of doing. So
Okay. Fine.
it,
Fine.
it would be
Oh,
more
well,
useful to me in that sense. But no, obviously,
Chinese. No, Chinese for Jeremy Vine. So you got to listen to a Chinese Jeremy Vine or Chinese news. So you learn Chinese from both of them. You've got to pick.
oh, you've got me there. Oh yeah, then the Jeremy Vine roots. For
Chinese
sure.
Jeremy Vine.
At least he's kind of he's open. At least it seems he's open to talk about anything. But I don't know. I just feel like and I just feel like he won't. Well, it's the pandering. Is just seems a bit biased. I don't know. I think.
Bias which way? Bias which way?
The left. I mean,
Oh, right. Okay.
I guess that's where I was going with this. But he'll
I'm
pander.
much more. I think I'm much more of a lefty than you. So maybe I should listen to Chinese Jeremy Vine.
I think possibly you should, yeah. And I think that you'll take more away from it than I will. I'm not sure, but yeah. Well, that's my news segment. Unless you had any more
No,
what's in
no.
the
That I
news
mean, we've covered the Facebook Facebook Australia thing quite well by talking about
scandal.
Jeremy Vine, by talking about Chinese Jeremy.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to get into, sink your teeth into?
No, I think that's a good start for us. Yeah.
Right.
If anyone has spent time listening to this, thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you. And feel free to leave your comments and any suggestions on things that we should talk about, or things that you would like us to talk about, or anything that we discussed that we should go back to.
Or if you want us to shut up, if you don't ever want us to talk again, tell us in the comments.
We can do that. That is easier. Is a much easier thing to do. Right. Anyway, Joe.
Have a good week.
Yeah. Have a good weekend. Catch you
All
later.
right. Thanks. Bye.
Cool. Signing out. Bye.